question is probably, this is reality. Which meaning whatever you can see, you can feel, you can touch, basically what you understand through your perceptions, through your five senses. But today I am here to tell you that that concept of reality is wrong. The greatest philosophers and scientists, from Buddha to Albert Einstein, have explained and have been explaining that what you think of reality is not what it really is. And in fact, the true nature of reality has not been discovered yet. But the possible conclusion to this question is that reality is the interdependent relationship between the mind of the observer and the nature of the universe. So, in simpler words, reality is just a creation of our perceptions and of our consciousness. I'll take a moment to let that sink in. So, what do you see in this picture? A cube? That cube is just your imagination. What this picture really is a bunch of discs with cutouts. But what you're seeing is you create a cube out of this picture. And that is just your imagination. So what I'm trying to say is you don't see things the way they are. You make something out of it through your perceptions. Now you might ask, what about the scientific reasonings about the world and how things work the way they do? Because that is how we understand our world today. But let me tell you this, even the concepts, the scientific reasonings is not completely unbiased, because they have observed something and through their perception and understanding and experience, they have developed these concepts. For example, the concept of gravity, first discovered by Isaac Newton, and then later on, first discovered by Isaac Newton, through the observation that things fall down when thrown in the air. Now that fact that things are pulled towards the ground is unchangeable, but the concept, the idea of gravity itself, is entirely Newton's perception. And what do I mean by that? What if Newton understood gravity as some godly force from underneath the ground? And what if that concept was accepted until today, and what if there was a religion created out of it or whatever? So, to understand this theory further, an experiment has been done. This experiment is first introduced by Thomas Young and has been done over 1,000 times over and over again with the same results each time. This experiment is called the double slit experiment. So in this experiment, there is an electron gun, which is also a photon shooter, and photon, by the way, is a particle of light. There's a double slit metal sheet. Double slit means like two openings, and there's an observation screen. Sorry, this picture is kind of blurry. So, what happens is the experimenter will shoot single photons, single particles of light towards the metal sheet, and a pattern is observed on the observation screen. So what you would expect is that because there's two openings on the metal sheet, the photons that go through that will create a two-striped pattern. That's what you expect. Just like how you create images with spray paint and spray paint stencils. But the actual result, that expectation is wrong. The actual result is that the photons create an interference pattern, which meaning that it creates multiple stripes on the observation screen. Now you wonder, how can that be? Because there is only two openings on the metal sheet. How can they create multiple stripes on the observation screen? So to analyze that strange behavior further, scientists put detectors right near the double slits, like over here, to observe it much closely. So, and then the results were even more weird. So what they found out is when they observe it more closely, the pattern of 2 stripes appear. But when they take out the detectors, when they look at it from a zoomed out view on this experiment, the multiple stripes reappear. Now, I'm not just making this up, you can look it up on the internet later on. It's called the double slit experiment. So with this, Albert Einstein came up with an interesting question. How do you know the moon exists when no one is looking at it? Now, I'm here not to confuse you with all this abstract information, but you might wonder, so what? So what if reality is your perception? So what if reality is created out of your mind? From my point of view, if reality really is your perception, then even the negative thoughts, the bad times you've had, the negative sides of your life can be a creation of your mind. Meaning you can control these negative events and you can actually live a happier and healthier life. For example, stress. When you talk about stress, it's always negative. You always think of stress as your enemy. But recent studies, such as studies by Kelly McGonigal, she's a psychologist, she studied that participants who viewed stress as their friend, who view stress as just a way that their body prepares them to face any challenges, to overcome difficulties. Participants who viewed it that way stayed calm and relaxed, and they could do whatever they were asked to do better, like they could perform better. So what she's basically saying is, if you change your mentality, if you choose how to interpret it, then you can control whatever is going to happen to you, like especially the bad events in your life, especially hurtful, painful feelings. You can change those by just controlling your mind. So I would like to end this with a quote by William Dyer. So, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at changes. Cultivate the beauty in your surround. Thank you.
I have one question for you. I know that you chose to edit it out of your presentation, but your research included looking at your own Buddhist tradition. So how do you feel like your research and your thinking about this question of what is reality changed your feelings about your own faith and tradition, or did it change your feelings?
I don't think it changed, because what Buddhist philosophy talked about is pretty much the same as what the scientists have discovered and what the philosophers are saying. So I don't think my Buddhist belief has not changed.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions from the audience? Do you want to move to the mic, please?
I really like the way the whole concept, the way you said, the way you look at reality and the stress, like there's a thing like the stress about. So like, how do you advise us to change the way we look at the world? Like, how do we look at the world? If we don't look at reality, like what should we look at?
If you don't look at reality, then what should we look at?
Like basically, what advice do you give us? Like you said that change the way you look at things.
Yeah.
But how do we change it? Like how do we look at things?
You have to, I think, from my point of view, you have to stop and like really, and suppose if you're getting angry at something, you have stop, if you really think at what you're getting angry about. And that can, and if it's a simple reason, then that can change your mind. And that way you wouldn't have to stress about it. I think that's my opinion. You can agree or disagree with it.
Thank you. Should we go ahead and move to Mike?
You were talking about how we perceive reality, but does that necessarily change the physical form of things? Like, for example, in the experiment, there's a very concise mathematical model explaining the relationship between a particle and waves. It's not just dependent on the observer. And when we say observer in quantum mechanics, it doesn't necessarily mean a conscious observer. It just means when you measure something or see something, because at a very fundamental level, it affects things. So does that necessarily mean? I guess what I'm saying is I wasn't entirely convinced if reality is just how we perceive things, because
why I show this experiment is that they found out that only when they were observing the photons, they behaved differently. When they zoomed out and looked at the experiment, and then they changed their behavior again. And what I didn't mention is that this experiment has been done for atoms as well. And that is weird because we are all made of atoms. And it shows that what you determine, what you see in front of you is all depends on your mind.
Yeah, but
it's not a discussion.
Any other questions?
You said that reality works by the relationship of the mind with the universe. So does that mean that different people have different perceptions of reality?
Yes.
I have another question. A lot of people say that math is a thing that is just created in your mind. But other people say that no, math is an actual part of the world. Math is how things work. Math is inherent in everything. What do you say? What do you say to that?
I think that relates to my example of gravity. So if you study the source principles of math, then it's actually a concept by somebody who formulated and developed it. So it's not exactly unbiased. It has been understood by a mind. And yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that math is essentially a human creation and not an aspect of the universe that we're observing?
Yes, basically.
Thank you.